Welcome to another episode of Vital DocTalk, and today we have Dr. Carolyn DeLucia on. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah,
Hopefully. Great, awesome. Well, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have
thanks.
you on. I loved our intro call. Great personality, and guys, she has a parrot with her. That was really cool to check out. Never seen it. So, Dr. Carolyn, why don't you give us, the easy info first, the background,
Sure.
the warm up. So tell us about your story, what motivated you to get into the field and what are you up to today?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, by the way. And I'll just take 1 second and say that I hope that everyone is faring well with this COVID-19 problem that we're having. And I pray that your families are well. Uh, but getting back to our chat today, I am a board certified OBGYN in New Jersey and Manhattan. And I was doing traditional OBGYN, and in 2001 decided to back away from obstetrics to be home and raise my children. And my income dropped significantly. And in order to sustain my income, I opened up a medi-spa, which is the spa that'll do procedures that only physicians can perform, or procedures a physician must oversee. And in the state of New Jersey, that's any laser procedure. Being in that field already, I was extremely blessed to be introduced to a very cocky, handsome representative who came into my office and said, "I have a laser that rejuvenates the vagina." And I said, "Turn around and don't let the door hit you in the butt." And I literally did. And he goes, "Oh no, please listen to me. This may help urinary incontinence." And I said, "You say what?" Now, over a third of women suffer with urinary incontinence. So I got into the field of female sexual health. And that has been where I have been going since 2014.
Wow.
And so for the past 6 years, that's been my soapbox, because there are many wonderful procedures that women may have that can comfortably, safely continue their intimate relationships.
I like that, by the way, that you specialize in women's intimate health, right? And so that's fairly niche when I think of a niche, but it also seems to me broad enough where, okay, that's a pretty big category.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into my favorite part of the show, the marketing element, right? So did you always think, okay, I'm going to start a niche? And then besides that, are there any major aha moments you had about marketing along the way? Like, oh, go to, Facebook ads, or what the real conversion is, my website, whatever. I'd love to know. We would love to
Well,
know.
here's the most important aspect, in my opinion, about what you're saying is a niche. What you have to do as a professional is find something that sets you apart, because if you're just a part of the regular, mediocre, everyday medicine, you're not going to stand out. You're not going to be able to survive on your own. I'm a solo practitioner. No one owns me. I have my own schedule. It's good to be king. And I went into medicine to be independent. So you can't be perfect at everything. You have to pick what you're really good in, or what your passion is, and go for that and set yourself apart. Because I started out, I bought every laser. You should see the laser graveyard. Don't fall into that mistake. It costs you millions, and you've just got these machines that don't really fit in with who you are and what your motivation and goals are. So pick something that you are passionate about and become good at that, and market that.
I
So,
like that. Yeah, I think
mhm.
I think it's really important, right, to pick something that you're passionate about. My favorite question for people is, what would you see yourself doing for at least 10 years? Because it's going to take time for you to be the number one in your niche. You're going to have to establish a brand. Although like the names we know, the household names and all that, right? They've been around for at least 10 years. It takes a while to build a great reputation. So while you were building your brand, is there any specific channels of growth you like? Speaking, word of mouth, SEO? What's your favorite like thing that you say, okay, doctors should really know about this one?
Right now, you can't do medicine without social media, whether we like it or not. And I'm of the older generation. I'm going to be 58, and it's difficult for me to do social media. It's not my thing, but you have to. And the other very critical aspect here is that if you don't want to do it yourself, delegate. Find someone to do it for you, because if you don't and you don't keep up, you're going to get brushed under the carpet and you won't survive. So in order to establish yourself as a brand, to start showing people who you are, because that's very important. You have to show people today who you are, what you represent. And there's no better way than social media. And most of the time, it's free or very inexpensive to do some ads on Facebook or Instagram. There's tons of tricks, and that's what people like you and your other company are all about.
Yeah, we specifically, what I do, so I wrote SEO for Doctors, guys, plug, but we just specialize in SEO, search engine optimization, and that's what we're focused on in the show. And maybe eventually I'll do other channels, but I really want to master this one. And that's what we've been doing for years. We have custom tools. Is there one specific channel that you've seen get the best results for you? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook, Instagram ads?
I think in sincerity today, my age group is Facebook, but the most popular now is Instagram, as far as physicians in any kind of an aesthetic or niche group.
That's true. I would definitely agree. And I'm actually seeing the same thing. I think Facebook has a really broad reach. You can get a lot of different audience members, but younger generations are going for Instagram. If you want to go even younger than that, in the teens, TikTok is going to be the platform. Have you ever done like a Facebook post and gotten any interaction from your clients, and how's that cycle look like?
Well, when you post something and you're advertising, you will, so to speak, you're just trying to share. And let me just tell you, when you do these kinds of posts, to me, it's, undercut, you got to smash them. So during the week, you post a couple of things that are not actually a plug, but informational, something to draw your client in who you want to reach and give them something of value. And then towards the end, you can put in your hook of, this is what I can offer you, kind of a
here's the discount, here's the coupon.
Right.
I like that, right? And that makes sense. That's it's funny you said undercut. It reminds me of a Gary Vaynerchuk, the famous marketer, that says jab, jab, jab.
Yeah.
And so like I have a book, SEO for Doctors, right? And then people are actually, every week we at least get one or two people filling out that form for the book. When's the best time to hook? Like, are you looking for certain things from, in your experience for people to say? Are you waiting for them to contact you? When do I know it's the best time to hook? Because like I have a book, people are downloading it, will be your advice. I've never downloaded,
Well, you can see how, if let's say you're sending out emails, of course, and you can see how many people are opening those emails, and you always remember that people need 5 to 7 exposures before they're gonna bite. But you can't over torture them either. So you have to do it in a very gentle ways. So, because you can scare them away just as
Yep.
easily. So, but usually I will also say that you'll scare away the right people. In other words, someone who just doesn't jive with you and
Mhm.
is not interested in what you have to offer or may not mesh with your personality. So I think that you need to do at least 5 to 7 little nudges before you send in your hook, and you can see who's responding.
I like that, and I think every industry will vary a little bit. That 5 to 7 isn't talked about a lot because when I talk to doctors, especially in their early years, like let's say first year, second year, and they've got, hey, these are the people that are giving me referrals. I always ask them, when's the last time you followed up with them? So follow up is so huge.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and then when it comes back to actually new interactions, right? Maybe they've downloaded my ebook, but now I've got to do is maybe I've got to like map out 7 other things, or I guess 6 other things I could do. I could add them on LinkedIn. I could add them on Twitter, tweet at them, send them an email, another email newsletter type of thing, do like a
Absolutely.
video. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. When you say email, you have to email your patients until they unsubscribe or die.
So
That's it.
you're really a
You
big
just
fan of the follow up or die type of mentality.
100%. You have, and it's never your patient or your client's need to know what you're doing. You have to tell them what you're up to. They will not know. I still have a full gynecological practice in my New Jersey office along with the med spa. And do you know, some of my patients that have been seeing me for 20 years still have not picked up the fact that I do the female sexual health side. And it doesn't matter. You can't always bring it up in a gynecological practice because then it looks like you're you're
So what is
selling.
that line?
It's
What
a
is that?
very delicate line. So it's a matter of if they have a problem, um, namely, let's say, painful intercourse. I can then explain all the standard of care that they can get at any OBGYN, and then go into, but we also have. So I'm not trying to push them that way. I'm giving them the entire armamentarium that we have at our disposal at this time. And that includes just the standard estrogen cream, let's say, or over-the-counter lubricant versus a laser treatment.
Got it. I like that. I think it makes a lot of sense. Context really matters. So in this setting,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you're saying, hey, are you going to buy or are you interested in a
No.
campaign? Even that might be even too direct. But hey, we can also do this if you're ever interested. And we also offer this, just so you know. And
Yes.
I like that. It's more of an educational point of view.
Correct.
And I think the best people that actually convert patients and, businesses as well, same thing. They look to educate and advise.
That's
Educate and
correct.
advise. And really that's good sales, but nobody wants to use that word nowadays.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I like that you've been able to build up your practice and use this methodology, because I think we've talked a lot about the essentials of marketing, finding the niche you're passionate about, 5 to 7 nudges. And then obviously you got to position yourself as an expert, write a book, go to the speaking conferences, etc. So
Yes.
Dr. Carolyn, tell us more about COVID now, right? Because I'm pretty sure you were probably on a roll before everything hit. How have you seen it impact the industry, and how have you seen doctors
Wow.
react in the good and bad?
Yeah. Um, in having the two practices, it was affected very differently.
Mhm.
Meaning, a cash business that's doing aesthetic type of procedures not covered by insurance versus my insurance-based practice were affected differently, but both severely, as we all know. With the medical practice being in the Northeast, which was obviously hit very, very hard, we had to basically close down, although I never shut down completely. I was willing to be available for my patients for emergencies. It ended up in my clinical practice that it was reduced to less than a third of the patients were coming in a week. The aesthetic side closed completely. I don't think anyone had, it was not deemed essential, nor would anyone feel justified in coming in for their Botox during this pandemic. So patients were melting, so to speak, without their Botox. But now at this point, they are coming back in, and the aesthetic side is booming. And dealt with appropriately. Now, very, very cautiously. I was at first seeing all my gynecological practice patients by myself in the office. I did not have staff. I left them all home working on the phones. And I was welcoming one patient in I didn't even let them touch the door. And I wear a mask and face shields and clothing that I strip at the end of the day. And every room is completely bleached and covered. Also, in addition to bleaching, the surfaces are covered. So the patients have commented that they feel safer in my office than the grocery store. And that is what you must do for your patients. They need to feel safe and that you're taking this seriously, because otherwise they're not going to come back and they will talk to other people. So you have to be sure that you're providing an environment where they feel you're truly taking that into consideration and not endangering them, because they know you're seeing lots of people, which makes you a possible contaminant. So if you're not watching what you're doing, they can be afraid of you.
For sure. I
Not
think,
come.
yeah, every interaction is a potential risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky that we're in the digital marketing SEO space, but most people aren't. So as business owners out there, as they say, if a good client might tell a couple people about your service, a bad
Yeah.
client will tell the world.
100. I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for sure. So what would be one takeaway or a key piece of advice for doctors out there that are looking to, come back or expand?
Well, I feel that I must say, in all of this, one of the key portions of my private gynecological practice that helped me stay afloat and pay my staff, they never missed a paycheck, is the fact that I offer bioidentical hormone therapy, which is not covered by insurance and was the only cash procedure that I provide that survived COVID.
Wow.
And still deemed essential, and patients couldn't live without it. So they were coming in for their pellet hormone therapy regularly and kept me afloat. So my takeaway is secondary streams of income other than traditional medicine meeting the insurance needs. We need to, as physicians, find ways to have secondary streams of income in our practices and in our lives.
That
And
makes
so, yeah, so one of them is that. Another is you can get FDA approved devices that anybody can use. There's new technology called HiFem, which has an FDA approved chair that you sit on and treats urinary incontinence, fully clothed. My secretary can seat the patient on the machine, turn it on, and make me money. And the device works. If it doesn't work, you won't sleep at night. But if you can find means of finding something that will help clinically appropriate plus bring you in cash, that'll help us survive.
That's great. And I'll make sure to link to you and the device, in the interview podcast notes. I think diversification is obviously the easiest and most useful piece of advice for times where things are just falling apart. You can't have all your eggs in one basket right now. You've got to experiment. You've got to get out there, right? Yes. So whether that's going after new pieces, new, devices that you can use and new services. I've seen dermatologists offer like virtual consultation type of things. Like you got to start getting creative and looking at options right now is great, because you're going to be stuck at home anyways, right? So if you're stuck
Yes.
at home, you got really no other option except to try new things. That makes,
Yes.
yeah, and that's good logic. And I can see why, you've grown to 2 practices and are an awesome doctor. So thank you so much for the interview. Now I think is your
Thank
time
you.
to tell us about more, what should we check out? Where should we go? Websites, Twitter, Instagram, all that. Tell us.
Oh, that's great. Well, I did write a little book, and that book is called Ultimate Intimacy, The Revolutionary Science of Female Sexual Health.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Amazon bestseller, new release for quick reads. It's very simple. It's basically a patient handout that you give your patients to help them understand that there are options out there for female sexual health. The other aspect I would like to say, you could visit me on Instagram, Carolyn DeLucia, MD. Very simple. And on, let's see, my website is vivarejuvenation.com. And
What would be the best way to
that's all I got.
contact you? Let's say I'm a doctor,
You,
I'm watching, I'm like, I love the device. I love what
oh
you do
yeah,
with the device. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, you can email me at Viva, VIVAGYN at yahoo.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. That was another episode of Vital Doc Talk.
Thank you.